Good morning, folks. I just wanted to make a wee quick video about what it's like to have ADHD and try and get a good night's sleep. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm out for a wee walk this morning. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm out for a wee walk along the river because I cannot sleep. And what happens, for me especially, is I end up being my own worst nightmare. Negative thought patterns run over in my mind when I'm just lying there trying to sleep. I know I can't sleep, and the more negative thought patterns that run over in my mind, the more I can't sleep, and it just spirals out of control. And sometimes I just go out for a wee walk along the river and whatnot, and it's quiet, nobody's here. It's 5 a.m, pitch black. A bit creepy for some people, but it's what you got to do, you know what I mean? And the problem is with this ADHD fatigue and this ADHD burnout, part of that is not actually being able to get a proper night's sleep. Part of that is not being able to just shut down your mind and just fall asleep. See when you see your girlfriend or your dad or whatever, and you see them just conk out on the couch and they're totally asleep, they're totally out. You could do anything to them and they wouldn't even move. That kind of comatose state is something that ADHD people, or especially me, I can't get myself into that. I can't relax that way. And it's a real problem. It is a real problem. So I take myself out for wee walks like this every so often to just clear the air, get some fresh air, hear the birds sing. It's a difficult thing to go through. It really is. But I'm born with it and I can never get rid of it. So I just have to learn to deal with it. If anybody else suffers from the same thing, just nights on night of not being able to sleep, not being able to relax, not being able to shut down, let me know your message, because you might have figured out a way to deal with it. You might have figured out a way to help yourself that I haven't. I think we're all in this together, really, aren't we? All of us folks that have got ADHD or Asperger's or ADD or SPD or autism or whatever, whatever it is that you have in your mind that's on the autism spectrum, and the coping mechanisms that you've actually developed, they could help other people. That's why I like to share a little bit online, to show people, like my coping mechanisms and the way that I deal with things, because honestly, it's a tragic way to live. You're your own worst enemy. You're trapped in your own mind most of the time. You can't escape your own thought patterns. You can't sleep. The doctors don't give you anything that really effectively helps. Like there is medications out there that they can give you that would help, but they don't give you any sort of effective medicines. I've asked for them in the past, but they've never. They go, oh, we don't take requests, whatever that means. The other week they actually refused to give me my ADHD medication. I'd ran out, and I was like, listen, I need my ADHD. I went to the chemist. Like, I usually put my prescriptions in a week before, and so as I give them a whole week to get it ready. I live in a rural area, so it takes them a while to get the ADHD medication. So I give them a whole week, and I went into the chemist, and the chemist didn't give me the medication. I was like, what the hell? So I phoned up the GP surgery, and she's like, oh, you've had enough. You've had enough of that medication. And I'm like, this is a receptionist. And I'm like, what do you mean I've had enough? I've ran out. And she says, yeah, you've had enough. And I'm like, I don't understand, because I've run out. and you don't get to decide whether I've had enough or not. So who is it that's made this decision? She's like, oh, it's the on-site pharmacy. The on-site pharmacy says you've had enough. So I was like, well, the on-site pharmacy is wrong, ain't they? And I questioned them, and in me questioning them, they then accused me of being a drug addict. I mean, there's a lot of things that I am, but a drug addict is not one of them. The only drugs I take are the ones they bloody give me. And I don't take them at a higher rate than what they prescribe them to me at. I just take them at the rate that they tell me to take. And they're calling me a drug addict for it. Or you're exhibiting drug addict-like behaviour. And I'm like, what, because I told the receptionist she's wrong? So as I can get my medication? What, so now you're not allowed to question the receptionist? You know, and then the doctor's like, oh, you're manipulating the receptionist. You know, because I mentioned how all the feelings that come back. If I don't get my medication, I mentioned all the feelings that my medication helps me with. I mentioned about all them coming back, about my self-harm and my suicidal feelings and, you know, my anxiety and whatnot. I says all these feelings are going to come back, and I don't really want to have to deal with that, you know. And she's like, all right, I'll go and speak to a doctor. And then I went through the doctor, and the doctor had a go at me, telling me I was manipulating the receptionist because I told her the situation. She asked me what the situation was. She says, what can I help you with? Oh, I need to find out about what's happening with my prescription, you know, and get down to the bottom of it. You know, and she'd asked me the questions about it and that. And I was like, well, I told her. She asked me, and I've got the letter. I might actually post that letter, because they said it's inappropriate behaviour for me to tell the receptionist any of my medical details. But they ask, you know, and to be honest, I'm about ready to take this to the press, because I've encountered so much animosity and so much patronising way of talk. See when they realise that you have a mental disability, they automatically think that you're educationally. They think that you have an educational issue. I'm not thick. I'm not stupid. But these people treat you that way, and they speak to you in a way that and you just go, why are you speaking to me like I'm a child? Speak to me like I'm an adult, yeah? And I'm getting sick of it. You know, it's meant to be this whole mental health awareness stuff, and people are meant to be getting better, and, you know, people are meant to be becoming more aware of what mental health, about mental illness is. And they just don't care. And I'm not going to name the medical practice that I'm a member of, but this isn't the first time I've encountered this with a medical practice. The last medical practice that I encountered this with was back in Glasgow, and the woman that I spoke to, she attacked me and said, oh, I would like to, because I actually requested a male doctor. I says, oh, I would like a male doctor. You know, I confide in a male doctor better because I was raised by a man. My mother left me when I was 3. So, like, I confide better with a man. And she said that I said she wasn't qualified to do her job because she's a woman. This is what they told me. And I recorded the meeting. It was like one of those video calls because it was COVID at the time. And I recorded it on my girlfriend's iPad or iMac. So I've got them banged to rights. I never said anything like that. I watched it back like about 100 times, thinking, did I say that? Like, try to sift through this meeting to try and figure out if I did say that or I didn't say that. I didn't say nothing to the kind. And it's with the Scottish Public Service Ombudsman at the moment, because I made a really heavy complaint about it, and I'm not going to let it lie. I'm not going to let it lie, because this is the sort of thing that people have to deal with. You know, this is the sort of people, I mean, you've got a mental illness, they treat you like some sort of leper, you know, that doesn't seem to know what they're doing, you know, and I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. But they just don't seem to get it. I can hear like a lot of geese. I don't know if the geese have just woken up in that field over there, but they've absolutely went crazy. It's very quiet in the countryside. I like it in the countryside. It's quiet. But yeah, anyway, this has turned into a bit of a rant again. But these are the things that people with mental illness have to deal with, and unfortunately, I don't see it changing. People attack you, and think they can get away with it, and what they do is they use your mental illness against you. So they'll say, "Oh, this has happened before," or you've missed these appointments before, and part of my ADHD means that I've got a forgetful memory, and I do try to put things in my phone, and and they activate and whatnot, so as I can remind me that, but that's not always a guaranteed method, especially when I live in a rural area and there's no signal, Like the other day, I asked for a phone call for the doctor, and because of the bad signal in this area, my phone didn't ring. I just got a notification through like a couple of hours later that there was a voicemail message. And I'm like, oh. So I listened to the voicemail message, and it was a doctor, and she says, "Oh, you need to," and she was quite nice about it, and she was like, "You need to phone up to rearrange your doctor's appointment and whatnot." And I was like, "Okay, no probs." But I guarantee you, when I phone up to rearrange that doctor's appointment, that the receptionist has a go at me for missing the appointment, even though it was out with my control. If they want to use telephone appointments in a rural area where there's hardly any signal, then it's not really my fault, is it really? But they will have a go at me for it, for missing the appointment. And this is what we've been reduced to in this country. The NHS is meant to be there to help. It's meant to be there to, help sustain your mental illness, to help, you cope with your mental illness. But they don't know what they're doing. They really don't know what they're doing. I mean, the guy that I went to see just recently, I mean, that one that I spoke about just recently, about the complaint where I asked for a male doctor because I open up better to a male doctor, and she says, "Oh, I said she wasn't qualified because she's a woman," which I didn't. She interpreted it that way, but I didn't say that. And just recently I went to go and see a male doctor in Stirling to speak about my issues and whatnot, and he tried to give me antidepressants and tried to change my medication. And I'm like, "Why are you trying to change my medication? I'm coping with my medication at the moment." I actually told him this. I sat down and I was like, "Well, the medication is fine just now. I don't have any problems with it. It seems to be working at the moment. So don't change it. Why change it if it's working at the moment?" I don't understand why these doctors, I mean, I know that if they prescribe a certain quantity of a certain medication, they get financial kickbacks for that. So I understand them wanting to prescribe certain antidepressants and whatnot, but if he's done any reading of my record before that appointment, then he would know that antidepressants don't work with me. And actually, there's studies showing that in ADHD, antidepressants don't work. They make you worse. I mean, my sleep is an issue, and I'm not going to deny that, but there's nothing I can do about it. The doctors are not willing to prescribe me any sort of sedative in order to knock me out. And I'm just tired of everything, to be honest. I'm just tired of having to deal with all of this emotional baggage that I seem to just accumulate all the time. And it's actually, some of it, probably 90% of the baggage that I'm carrying around is my own baggage. It's baggage I've created. It's stuff that I've caused myself. Some of it has been out with my control. Some of it is bullying in places of work and stuff like that, because it's quite easy to emotionally bully me. But it's not so easy to physically bully me. But it still happens, and the last place of work that I was in, I actually sued them, and they settled out of court. They didn't want to go to court because they knew they would lose. I had all the evidence stacked up against them, and they settled out of court so as they didn't have to go through court. And this is the situation that people like me are in. Do we put ourselves out there to like work for people and whatnot, knowing that it's going to affect us negatively, like it's going to mentally decline our, mental well-being. Do we? Is that a thing? I mean, do we force ourselves to do that? I don't want to. The risk I take just by putting myself into a situation where somebody's emotionally bullying me every day, day on, day in, day out, actually puts me on a suicidal path, and I end up self-harming, and it's a really bad situation to be in when society doesn't make allowances for the condition that you suffer from, even though they claim to do that. The Mental Health Awareness Month, I don't know when that is, but that's meant to have highlighted people that suffer from mental illness, and meant to help other people who don't understand the circumstances that people with mental illness have and go through. Anyway, just a little chat about getting some stuff off my chest, I think. But a little chat about how I deal with things. And I don't know if you can see it, all the emotional baggage that I carry around. I don't know if that's visible just from this little video, but it's just tiresome. It's just tiresome to deal with this all the time. But anyway, have a nice morning. I'm going to go for a walk along here. I can't walk and talk at the same time because the light is in my face and I can't actually see the ground. And I'm next to a river. I end up in the river, swimming around going, what the hell is going on? People think I'm going to try to drown myself. Anyway, have a good night.